Good evening everyone, welcome back to my channel, True Crime with Jess Rose. How you all doing? It's a bit cold tonight. I think summer's gone now. I think it's past, which I'm a bit sad about, although whinging about how hot it was. It's just a bit sad, but then I suppose we get to look forward to Christmas then. It's gone too quick this year already, hasn't it? Yeah, thank you for joining me again. Thank you to my new subscribers this week and everyone who's commented. I hope I've got back to everyone. And this week I'd like to look at a case again, just one I've come across. I don't know if you'd have heard of it, but it's just so sad. I just thought I've got to do it. And it's the Rachel Burkheimer. I practice these names, I genuinely do, because I'd hate to get them really wrong, but Rachel Burkheimer, I think I've got it. You'll see when you see the title and you'll be like, how could you not pronounce that? But yeah, Rachel Burkheimer. And this is a girl who was born on the 16th of January 1984 in Washington, in America. And on the programme, it's actually Crime Watch Daily. It's another show I found purely by chance in the lockdown. I think I might have noticed it once before, but not noticed it, if you know what I mean. And then, yeah, I've just come across so many stories on it. So, yeah, Crime Watch Daily, that is. And, yeah, on there, you've got her mum, her dad, her sister. There's quite a few people who talk about her. Her dad's Bill Burkheimer, her mum's Denise Webber, and her sister's Megan Burkheimer. And they talk about Rachel and just say she was just, you see photos of her, you know, from young right up until she's at 18. And beautiful looking girl. It's absolutely stunning. You know, her dad says, you know, it was a smile, it would light up a room. Like I said, very pretty, really outgoing, really sporty, you know, into a lot of sports at school. You know, and she loved animals, so it said she was possibly going to go for, you know, a veterinarian course at college. You know, that's where she was heading. She just had everything going for her. A really close group of friends. But in Rachel's, I think it was either her sophomore or senior year at college. It might have been the year before, she might have been 17. I'm not too sure how it works, but I think in America it's freshman, sophomore, senior. I think she might have been a sophomore. And 6 of her very close friends all died in, like, tragic circumstances, but all quite close together. You know, there was a suicide, there was a shooting, you know, there was a drowning, that just these really tragic circumstances that took away some of her closest friends. It just really sad. And then she had a really close friend. It said he was a soulmate. It wasn't said that they dated or anything, just really a really close friend of hers. And he died in a car crash. So it's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, really. And she changed literally overnight. Rachel did. And she just started shutting down to her entire family. And she kind of finished school. Sorry, glasses. Very nice. I used to be fine. Past 2 years, can't say without them. But yeah, she kind of left school. Like I say, completely. She was very close to her family. Like, she had a little niece as well, her sister's daughter. Her sister, stamp of her. You know, you see her, you know, talking about Rachel, and, you know, just really, really close family. And she'd shut down from all of them, and she started dabbling in drugs and stuff, and hanging about with people that she wouldn't have. They were nothing like her previous group of friends, you know, that she'd lost. She'd obviously had other friends, but these were, you know, they just weren't a good group of friends. And she started seeing a lad called John Anderson. Now, John Anderson, her sister says, was kind of what her sister thought was Rachel's kind of phase of a bad boy. she thought her sister was just literally going through a phase, being with him. He was kind of a small-time criminal, and there was him and about 7 others, and they made up a gang called the Northwest Mafia. You know, they were supposed to be quite small-time crooks, though. You know, kind of dabbled in selling drugs, but it was said that they took more than they sold. It was coke, meth. You know, it wasn't even like weed. You know, it was quite hard drugs, really, considering they were classed as petty criminals. But I suppose if they were taking more than they were actually selling, yeah, it was just kind of, it's life's losers, really. Nothing going for them. All 18 as well, you know, a young group. But yeah, just spent their days playing video games and getting high, and just not the kind of group that before this tragic set of circumstances that had gone into a play in Rachel's life, that she'd have never have paid any attention to these kind of friends. They wasn't her normal circle. Now Bill, her dad, he found out about John when he got a $600 phone bill come through to the house, because she was still living at home, and it was collect calls to a correctional facility. I think that's their jail, because I think in America you've got jail and then you've got prison, and I think he was in the jail. Anyway, $600 worth of collect calls that he obviously spoke to Rachel about, and, you know, who's this you're in touch with, and, you know, and when she explained it to him, like her dad and her sister and stuff, she was just like, you know, I know he's got a bad side, but, you know, she was the kind of person that still, she wanted to see the good in people. You know, I maybe thought she could help him. You know, she thought he was fun, but everyone was hoping it was just a phase. It was just a phase she was going through. With, like I say, bad boy, she was kind of rebelling a little bit. You know, no one thought it'd be anything long-standing. Now, when he'd come home, because, you know, he was in and out, John had started to get quite possessive over Rachel. He'd sniff her hair, see if it smelled like a man. Okay. You know, it was just all very, he'd check her phone, he'd want to know what she'd been doing and stuff, and yeah, it all just got a bit odd. And then her sister started noticing bruises on her, and bruises on Rachel, and, you know, she was talking to her and she was just like, you know, you've got to get rid of this guy. And the one night, her sister said they had a heart-to-heart, and Rachel made up her mind she was going to distance herself from not only John but the whole group, and just try and get herself back on track again. You know, and from then she was just trying to re-establish herself with her family, and started going back to church and just trying to get back to her old self. You know, it was like she'd had this phase, and now she just wanted, I suppose she just wanted to get back on track, really. And her dad says the one day he walked out onto the porch, I think, and he seen her sat there, and she just seemed, he said she was glowing. She was actually like, she looked so happy. And she started talking to her dad, and she said she'd met this guy. They were only friends, but you know, he wanted kind of similar things she did. And unbeknownst to her dad, the guy was, his name's Maurice Rivas. But Maurice, oh God, is it Maurice or Maurice? I'm gonna say Maurice. Oh, I hope I'm not getting that too wrong. Unbeknownst to her family, Maurice was part of that gang. He was part of the group, and she'd started to get a bit close to him while John, even though they'd finished and she'd broke away from him, he was in jail, and she'd started to get close with Maurice. And they'd come up with a plan that they were going to go back to school, they were going to get jobs, they were going to get on track, they wanted to graduate with their class. So I'm thinking maybe she left school before she finished her senior year. But yeah, she was explaining to her dad that she'd made all these plans with this guy. No, it's not said. It's said that she said it was a friend. I'm not 100% if it did go any further, but when John came out of prison, yeah, he wasn't very happy, as you can imagine. Obviously, he was possessive anyway. But he wasn't happy about that. But he rekindles a relationship with Rachel. He managed to drag her back in. And yeah, I think maybe they rekindled it and then he found out about Maurice. But either way, he's not getting over it. And it gets to the point where in their drugged up state, this particular group, like I say, I think there's 4 close members of the gang, but there's 8 in total. There's like 8 lads, like I say, who just take drugs and play video games and sell it if they've got any left, kind of thing. That's what I can gather. I don't think there was anything at that point. I don't think there was any harder crimes, not that they've been mentioned. And in their drug-induced state, they thought that what Rachel was actually doing, because obviously going out with John and then Maurice, that she was telling gang secrets to her friends and possibly other gang members. And it's like, wow, that's a jump. That's a real jump. Not that, this guy had given us some kind of hope that, they could possibly live a better life. I think she was trying to help this Maurice, because it was said he was brought up in the foster care system. He hadn't lived the kind of nice life Rachel lived, and maybe she was seeing the same as what she'd seen in John and thought maybe she could help him, maybe she was seeing the good in him. It just seems like she was that sort of person, and just not wanting to see the bad in anybody. But Rachel is now in danger, because rather than seeing it as, like you would be, you'd be hurt that was your friend, that's off limits, I'm done with you. It was like she was welcomed back into the group. Apparently Rachel didn't actually say she'd done anything wrong. She was young. That's what makes me think, was there a relationship with her and Maurice? Because surely, even if you're a fun-loving girl, you're a naive girl, you're an innocent girl, you would still know that a friend would be off limits, especially if John had been hitting her. Like his sister said, she's seen bruises. I just find it a bit odd that you'd go back into the lion's den as such if you had a relationship with your ex's friend. So I'm thinking maybe they hadn't done anything, but I'm not too sure. It's not really elaborated on that much. It doesn't really go into a lot of detail on that. But she's in danger. She'd been warned by a few people there was a hit on her, but no one actually believed. Like I say, these were kind of small-time criminals. No one actually believed that anything really serious would come of it. Now, in September 2002, it is an older story, but I've only just heard about it, so I'm sharing it with you. So in September 2002, Rachel goes to a party, and it's just like, what was she thinking? She goes to a party with the gang, the group. There must have been external members. I can't imagine she'd just be sat there with 7 lads, because John wasn't there at the time. But I can't imagine she'd just be sat there on her own with 7 other lads, especially Maurice being one of them. If she was rekindling things with John. It's just all it sounds very high schooly. It does, and it's just so sad. Because John walks in and he's not happy. He's not happy because they're all sat there laughing and joking, and they're actually all having a really good time, and he's not happy about that, whether it's jealousy because Rachel's there and Maurice is there too. I don't know, but an argument starts because when John walks in, he's that angry that they're having a good time. He slaps a couple of members of the gang, or a couple of people. Just very cocky lad. And slaps a couple of members as he's walking in. And it all starts to obviously go downhill really quick. Like, the mood changes straight away. And Rachel's seen that actually there is a bit of a danger here, tries to get to the door. And she doesn't make it to the door. John grabs her by her hair, drags her to the floor and starts beating her. And it's actually said that they turned up the stereo to drown out her screams. They drag her down to the garage and they tie her up. She's very badly hurt. She's really badly hurt. She's sustained some real bad treatment to her head. I think she was kicked in the head quite a lot, and you know, she was in a bad way, Rachel was. Now, there's something I didn't mention. Rachel is 4'11". She's teeny. She's teeny. I've seen the home videos of her. She's tiny. Gorgeous. Tiny. So, how... That... You know, that would be like... A child... Not a child, don't get me wrong. I don't know how to say it without sounding rude, but 4'11's tiny. You know, and to lay in, and I don't think John was the only one, you know, on a 4'11" little girl. So, wow, you must have felt amazing. You must have thought you were great. Like, come on. So they've tied her and they gagged her, and she's in the garage, and basically they all go back upstairs to decide what to do with her, and it said that they and ahed over gang raping her, taking her to a hotel until all her injuries clear up. You know, it went from one extreme to the other quite quickly, and so what they did, because they couldn't decide, they just decided to get stoned and play video games and eat pizza. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's all so immature and irrational, and just awful. Now, Rachel, she gets so close again. The owner of the home that they're in is actually the girlfriend of one of the gang members, and she walks into the garage and obviously sees Rachel, sees like distress, she's tied up, you know, she's obviously begging her to help her, and she goes back into the kitchen to get a knife to come back and cut the ropes. And oh, it's just such a shame. She was so close, but John, of course, appears and, you know, gets so angry, you know, and screams and stops her from saving Rachel, and, you know, she just basically says, "Get her out, I'm phoning the police." That's it. So they bundle Rachel, they put her in a duffel bag. This tiny girl, they put her in a duffel bag and throw her into the back of a Jeep with 4 of them in the Jeep and drive off. But the girl whose house it was, she didn't phone the police. She didn't phone the police. She didn't do anything. So they drive Rachel 30 miles away. And keep driving. She's in the back of the Jeep. Like I say, there's 4 in the Jeep. Oh, it's not just John Anderson in the Jeep. It's actually Maurice as well. He's there. You know, the one who she thought they could achieve their dreams together. Yeah, him. He's in the Jeep as well. And they, like I say, they drive 30 miles to the mountains. And when they get there, John Anderson and two of the others, there was four in the Jeep. They go off to find shovels and they leave Rachel with Maurice. He had that opportunity during that time. He had that opportunity to be like, I've got to help this girl. He every opportunity there and then sort of, not stop it, but he could stop what was about to happen. Because by that point they decided, yeah, they're killing her. They're going to kill this girl. She done nothing. Nothing. To me, this is revenge. That's what this is. He made it out to be, to wind all the others up. Oh, she's passing our gang secrets on. What? No. You just couldn't take it that somebody else had got her attention. Own it. Gang secrets. Just come on. And while she was left alone with Maurice, Rachel, by this point, she knew she wasn't coming out of this alive, and she begs Maurice, she says, can you just please make sure they don't drown me? She had a fear of water. I mean, surely hearing that would his heartstrings have got to be like, I can't do this to this girl. But no. Basically, when John comes back, he realises she's been talking. He gets the shovel and hits her in her head as hard as he can with the shovel. Now, I've already told you she's sustained a lot of injuries to her head already. And then she's lying there while they dig her grave. They then tell her to get in to the grave. Sorry, just before they tell her to get in, they go to strip her clothes. I don't know why, but she tries to hold her dignity, and she just says, and she just defiant to the end and says, no, I'll do it myself. I'll take my own clothes off. And she does. And then they order her to take her jewellery off. And do you remember I said, look, that real close friend she had who died in the car crash, he'd given her a ring. And when they were taking all her jewellery off her, she just begged, can you please leave me with this ring? They wouldn't even give her that. They took that ring as well. They wouldn't even give her that. So they took obviously her clothes off, took all her jewellery, made her get in the grave. And she gets on her knees and she starts praying. And that's when John Anderson shot her and shot her and shot her mainly in her head until he emptied the clip. Just unbelievable. Then they obviously cover her and leave. So they, like I said, she's 30 miles away. Her family at this point start to realise she hasn't come home. They report her as missing, go to the police. They try everything. They get all her information, her posters out. Everything they can to try and get this little girl home. And all these people knew she wouldn't be coming home. This wasn't like one person, or like, even the four that were in the Jeep. There was the other four that were back at home and their girlfriends, and and this was their undoing really, because one of the gang members, his mum, obviously realised the girl's missing, and he confides in his mum, and she makes him go to the police. He goes to the police, and this is what was ironic about this story, considering that the accusation was she's given her secrets to the gang members and her friends. They all turned on each other very, very quickly. All 8 were brought in, all 8 of the gang members. 5 of them took plea deals, 5 of them. You know, they all turned very quickly on each other, you know, considering, we'll keep it all together. I just find it really ironic. And then the three main culprits who took, like John Anderson, he got life in prison. Obviously, he shot Rachel and been involved. John Whittaker, life in prison again. He was digging the grave. He was there as well. And Yusuf Jihad got 37 years now. Apparently, this guy had masterminded the whole thing. Masterminded it. Mastermind. Makes it sound like it was a really good plan. You know, gee. You know, again, though, the American justice system, because the other five haven't even warranted their names, to be honest. Just disgusting. The other five, the least amount of time was 9 years. And so it varied. Like, Maurice, he got, I think I've read it, 20 years. You know, there was still, like, big sentences. Long sentences. Sorry, brain block there. You know, which I'm glad all of them got, you know, had to learn their lesson. All of them, no matter how much they're involved. I don't know about the girlfriend. I feel, even though she did try to help, why didn't she phone the police? But I suppose they all said they were scared. They all said, you know, they'd seen what had been done to this girl. None of them wanted it done to them. You know, and Crime Watch Daily themselves, they do get in touch. It's actually a really good show, and they do get in touch with a lot of perpetrators. They try and talk to them. They knock on their doors and stuff. It's a very interesting programme, but obviously they couldn't knock on their doors, but they tried to get in touch with them. John Anderson says that, you know, he would, I think, I'm paraphrasing here, but I think what he was saying was, I'm not going to give you the opportunity to try and twist my words. You know, that's what he kind of put forward. But apparently he was very cocky in the courtroom. And you've seen him winking at the camera a couple of times, you know. You're the big man. She was 4'11". You know, but yeah, he was just quite cocky. So you can imagine that he wouldn't have wanted to appear on camera. But, I've lost his name. Maurice, what he actually said was, he admitted that it was very cowardly in not helping Rachel. Cowardice, it was the term he used. You know, he knew he was showing cowardice in what the decision he'd made. He said he was too scared, though. He again said he was scared. He got wrapped up in it, and it just got more and more. He was on his own with her, and for them to go and get shovels, it obviously wasn't planned in that kind of sense. It wasn't some big scheme. You know, even 8 of them couldn't get it right. But he had that chance. So to say he was, it reminded me, this story did, and I don't know if you've ever watched it, and it's a film called Alpha Dog. And it had Justin Timberlake. It had quite a few stars in it. It had Bruce Willis, Sharon Stone, Justin Timberlake. It was kind of an all-star cast. Excuse me. And it was based on the kidnapping and murder of, just want to say his name right, Nicholas Markowitz. That was in 2000, so it was actually 2 years before what happened to Rachel, and it just reminded me of it in the way it was perpetrators. Again, it was in the mountains. He knew, he's seen his grave dug. Very, very sad. I think he was 15. Obviously, Rachel was only 18. It's just just so sad. And then to sit back and watch the film. I mean, Rachel wasn't found for 10 days. 10 days. And it was said that when she was taken out, the imprint left behind was her hands, where she must have fell forward and her hands in a prayer had gone into the sand. That's what her dad said, and that was really upsetting. That was quite a stomach drop, because you just thought, oh God. And for the family, to see that. It's just heartbreaking. When I come across it, I just thought, another waste. They all are. You know, I do these stories and I haven't, I mean, you can never come across, I suppose you can never come across one that where it's like, that's what it happened, because they're just so senseless. This one really was. Like I say, this was the story of Rachel Burkheimer. And it's Crime Watch Daily that I've seen it. If you do want to have a look, or if you want to look at the show, it's really interesting. I probably will do a few more stories from them, because they're stories I haven't heard of before. I don't know if they were, you know, well known at the time, and I just hadn't come across them. But I do like to share these ones with you, just to keep these victims' names out there, because I say it all the time, they should be remembered. They should, and it's just so sad that it happens. It really is. But yeah, that was a Rachel Burkheimer story. Thank you for joining me again. Please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I really would. Just press the button. I know people have like a little jingle sometimes. It's like, press subscribe, press the bell, press the look. So that's why I haven't got a jingle, because I couldn't even keep it together for that. But I'd really appreciate it. Or if you've got any comments or anything, and thank you again to everyone who's commented, and I really hope I've got back to everyone. So I will see you next time, and thank you so much again. Thank you.